Hey everybody, here we are at Milton's Pizza and Pasta here in Raleigh. This is our first TAF meeting that we've decided to try in Facebook Live. I want to welcome everybody outside of the room who is watching us around North Carolina. I want you to know we miss you and we appreciate you giving us a viewing tonight. Going to turn this over to Sue Barnett. She's going to do a presentation about SEO and other aspects. So, Sue Barnett.
Visual tonight, as you can see, boo-hoo. What I'll try to do is send out the staff to the Google group. Sorry to all the folks at home. I hope little hearts are going by right now.
Yes, it's working.
All right, so this is what I was going to start with. I'm sure you guys can't see it at all. This is watercolor by my grandfather way back when. There's a ocean sea serpent. Here, I'll walk around with it. Hannah, can you hear me okay? I'm gonna try to hear. So, and there's a sea serpent, and there's some poor guy in the boat fishing, and then there's another guy over here saying, "Look out, there's a sea serpent! Look out, look out, look out!" So I share this with you because I'm trying to make it personal. You know, my grandpa was a great guy. This is his sort of sense of humor. And that's what storytelling is all about. Right, guys?
Yeah.
Is everyone here a storyteller? Okay. So that's what I want to keep coming back to. That is our strength. We tell stories, right? We know that when we make emotional connections to our readers, they're going to like us. They're going to get drawn into the story. And I say this because I started out as a fiction writer, and you know, those are the things you do. Emotional connections are huge, whether it's marketing or writing your novel. Sensory detail. When you're not a writer, you don't think about these things, but we think about these things all the time, right? We want to enrich our writing. And also the story arc. Even in a 60-second commercial, there's always some sort of, we're very sensitive to that. We know what story arcs are. All right? And if you don't know what they are, what I say, a really fun exercise for me is to take 5 photographs from my life and just put it all in perspective. It's a nice little fun exercise to get your creativity connect to it. Because we love creativity, right? All right, so why digital marketing? Why is this going crazy? Okay. When we were back on the farm, little kids, right? We would call up Sears and Roebuck. We'd call up Sears, and we'd say, "I like your brassiere on page 45, tell me all about it," right? That would be our first step. That would be how we would research a product. We don't do that today. At least 60% of our research is done before we even call the company, before we even make contact. So, and we talk to our friends, we get referrals, things like that. So the job of digital marketing is to put our message out to those people who are researching, right? And content writing is how you get that in front of somebody. And there's many different forms of content writing. And it's basically what appears on the internet, and it's a way of imparting information without selling, without making a pitch. That's good content writing. Can you guys still hear me okay? I hear the kids are howling over there. Okay.
Just a degree louder, Sue.
Me?
Yeah.
I might need something to drink. Okay. Maybe something stronger, right? No, I was thinking like a martini. All right, then I have to drive. So the continual, consistent message, good content writing, that's going to build a trust with your consumer, okay? Just by the show of hands, is anyone interested in content writing? I mean, I know you guys are hardcore writer. Yeah, kind of, sort of.
For your own blog or for someone else?
Well, I'm thinking more like even if you need to sell a book or, yeah. Sometimes you're kind of selling yourself, like, hey, I'm this fantastic writer, blah, 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 you know. So that's what we're working on. Okay. Oh, and now Milton's is back up. Thank you so much. All right. So this is kind of a very bad digital marketing funnel. It was the only one I could rip off. So basically, did you guys see it at all? I know, you gotta get your like long distance glasses on this. So basically, you know, you wake up one morning, this is awareness at the top, and you know, I need a new car, right? So that's where you are here, like looking at all the different cars in the world. And then you go, okay, I'm really going to start looking for a new car. And that's when you actually, you know, get to the computer and you start researching it and looking it up. And then, you know, you're making your pro and con list down here with the consideration. So by the time, this one down at the very bottom is where you actually go out and buy something. Right around in here is where you actually start to get an emotional connection to what you're thinking about. So this funnel is what all marketers, they're always trying to reach you at every level. If you're doing a webinar, there might be a Facebook ad. And it'll say, take this webinar, it'll fix your life, okay? And you take the webinar, and then sometimes they just drop it there. You know, of course, during the webinar, they're like, you know, buy my bigger product for $500. And then they'll follow up maybe with a blog that covers the main points of the webinar. In other words, that continual contact. And as far as I'm concerned, this marketing funnel is still a great mystery. For all our analytics, for all the way we follow up, they still don't know. It's still hard to know where people actually make the decision to buy. And it's a real art. It's more art than science. Okay. So there are 4 types of content media. Don't get too crazy about taking notes. I'm going to send it all out to you. So, and there is a lot of this in my handout, particularly, you know, things to look up. So there's 4 types of content. There's, of course, written, when we write posts, when we do blogs. White paper is a little more involved, e-commerce, a little more in-depth. After that is visual, the stills, photographs, cartoons, graphics. After that is audio, AV, not, podcasts, a video, you know, that level. And then the last one is interactive. So when you play a game on your phone, they're getting a lot of information about you. Okay, that's going back. Anytime you play a game, anytime you take a quiz, anytime you do a phone poll, it's all sucking in information about you and what you're doing. Isn't that fun? All right. So all of that content is designed to connect with SEO keywords. All right, so what is an SEO keyword? So we've got a great spider right here. That would have been fun to see, right? So anytime, this is a web crawler, anytime you get online and you're at your URL and you put in Milton's, Raleigh, there's web crawlers that are going out, hundreds of them, going out collecting data to connect with that. Now, in this case, if we were actually doing Milton's, it would be, you know, you go to a Google map and it would find it. It would, because they know your location. Isn't that scary? They know your location, they would give you this Milton's. Or if you did Italian restaurant, they would do this Milton's. If you're, any luck, honey? This is my husband, Keith. He's gonna tell you hook it up.
All right.
I'll just keep going. We'll just, it's on that one too. I did my draft on that one. So it's going out. Of all the scenarios, Don. Oops, I just lost.
This is the shakedown cruise. After this, everything will go awesome.
All right. So it's going out and searching on those keywords. And if you get the right keyword, that's going to boost whatever you're promoting. Your book, your blog, your life. I guess in some cases your sex life, I don't know. All right. So when I started out, and I'm not putting down AdWords, if you want to get in and do keyword research on AdWords, it is very helpful. I eventually, when I was under deadlines and stuff, I would just sort of do little Googles later. You know, I was working for Borgen, the Borgen Project at that time. They were doing a lot of international stuff. And one article was Annie Leddick's plays at the Global Fund. So I was trying to figure out who would want to read this. And when I just did a little Google search on it, Global Fund came up with more than, I gotta speak louder, right? Came up with about 13 million hits, whereas Analytics came up with, you know, more than, about 3 million. So when I read through the article, I really thought that the people who really wanted to read this were more interested in anti-Linux, and it was a smaller pool of people. So what you're trying to do is get that to the top of your search, with your proper keywords, position it so that's the first thing people see. And the joke is, of course, that where do you bury the bodies? You bury it on the second page of search, because nobody ever reads the second page of search. You guys with me so far? Okay, you look good. All right. So, and more recently, and this is a concept that's just come to me, fairly recently, is rather than research keywords, if you do a little bit of research on what are the questions people are asking. 27% of searches are questions. Things like, how do I paint my dog? Something like that. So that, if you can, and questions are interesting because that shows what people are thinking right now. All right, so if you can, there's new ways to research that. So, sometimes you just, hang out with people and you figure out, people are probably thinking about Michael Cohen, things like that.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, lucky us. There is one, yeah, it's right here. It's right at the bottom. There is something called Answer the Public. Yeah. Answer the Public, and that just looks at questions that people are asking. And those come in through comments sometimes. If you went on Milton's and they say, is it a good restaurant? And they say, well, it's okay, but I prefer this one. Or, what questions are people asking? And that's a really good way to get keywords. All right, so once you found your perfect keyword, make sure that it's throughout your article or your post or whatever. Posts are a little bit different, but let's say you're writing an article. Make sure it's in your title. If you're doing a 500-word article, make sure it's 3 times, beginning, middle, and end. Don't do more than that. That'll piss off your web crawler. All right? They know, oh, you're trying to scam me. Go away. All right. And put it in your metadata. Do you guys have a pretty good idea what metadata is?
No.
Okay. Well, this, again, very poor visual quality. You know that thing? All right. This is WordPress. Okay. When you're actually posting it, it's a Yoast plugin. A plugin is just something that you add on. All right. This is an article I wrote for the AMA. The title is the 2019 High Five Conference, a Southern Dance of Marketing and Creative Trend, Marketing and Creative, and then it's -AMA Trend. Okay, so my major keyword in that is 2019 High Five Conference. Okay. Then the metadata, which is right here. This is the second thing that the web crawler is going to go out and look for. And you have a little more leeway to play around with that. You have 160 characters there. That's like what a tweet used to be, right? So there I put the High Five Conference will combine creative graphic, probably somebody's creative graphic design, marketing, technology, and AI. The one thing, and I just learned this last night, is that I didn't include Raleigh, North Carolina. All right, because somebody is probably Googling on that as well. Location is really important in your metadata. So, all right. You guys still with me, right? All right, so what drives SEO? That's probably the hardest question you're ever going to hear. I just learned, don't look at the answer. Guess how many times in a year Google changes its algorithm?
5. Hourly, daily?
Yeah. This is in a year. 600 times, at least. Okay, so that's what, twice a day, right?
Excuse me, Sue,
Yeah.
could you tell us what SEO means?
Didn't you guys hear that earlier?
You did, yeah.
I'm so sorry. It was in the slide. What does SEO stand for? Search engine optimization. It's the way the web, rather than just do a search, sort of unilateral, it does like a multi-binary spider web search. That's what search engine optimization is. So when you find the right keyword, that can manipulate that to put you at the top of the search. Everybody got that? And I'm really sorry. Every time a search is done, I just thought it looked at maybe 5 parameters. You know, your keyword, your location. It looks, each one of those spiders is looking at over 200 criteria. And that changes all the time, like twice a day, right? All right, we know that it likes nice, fresh content, like nice, fresh meat, right? Nice, fresh content. You want to keep turning it over, turning it over. Okay. And it's looking for your keywords. It also looks for high quality links. If you go out to Joe's Trading Post and get, you know, I'll write you 400 links for $20. That's a cheap link, okay? If you go to Amazon, Yelp, sometimes you can work something out with like Habitat for Humanity. You can go and volunteer and give them $200 and they'll mention you on their site. And it'll drive people to your site. Social media, all of those are high quality links, not a crappy link, okay? I'm sure if you have, I don't know, the New York Times gave you a link, that would give you a lot of kudos, right? All right, and also evergreen. Not all your stuff can be evergreen. Evergreen is timeless and high quality. In other words, every once in a while you will want to write on Pokemon. That's kind of a fad. But if you wrote on, I don't know, epic games and how they're interacting with children, you might write that sort of a universal, timeless piece, okay? Why do kids get drawn into games, okay? You could send that out, look at all your content, look at the feedback, and say, oh, I can make this better. Rewrite it, repurpose it, send it out again, okay? And you might get a better response. You might have better keywords at that point. You might be appealing to a whole different dynamic. Thank God for my husband, right?
We appreciate the effort.
Is there an 11-year-old in the house? That's what we're lacking.
Have a couple beers, right? All right. So, again, what drives SEO? It's pretty easy if you have a restaurant or a bookstore, and none of us I guess do, but to get on Google Maps. That's that little thing on the side that comes up that says Eden Joe's. Most SEO spiders love older domains. If you've had your website up for a long time, it likes that more than the guy that just opened last week. That carries a lot of weight. What's very recent, well at least recent to me, I should, is to have security. And that's when you have that HTTP. If there's an S on the end, that means that there's extra security. You might have noticed sometimes, what was the last site I went to? You'll punch in on a site and it will come up and it'll say not secure. So people go, oh, I don't know if I want to give my credit card to that. Okay, that's because they haven't paid, I think it's $30 a year to get that S on their URL, okay? I also learned fairly recently, if you have a photo in your story, and you leave it, JPEG 931, you can actually rename that and put a keyword in it. You can put puppies and daffodils in Raleigh, keywords, right? And that'll drive. Who knew, right? Also, the more feedback, the more shares, the more reposting, this all elevates you up that line to the top, to number 1. All right, so the other thing which I've sort of been talking about is the feedback, is the analytics. And everybody always talks about, this is a really simple analytics. This is on the Facebook front page I was doing. If you have Google Analytics, there's probably about 15 to 50 parameters over here. It was just way too small to see on the screen, right? So this is like the age is down here. You can see there's no, oh, this is a Democratic primary precinct. So there's obviously nobody under the age of 17 is voting. and my page didn't attract too many kids, I guess. And then it's male and female. I'm getting more female between age 25 and 44, and then it kind of drops off. By the way, just FYI, in the last primary, do you know what the median age was in North Raleigh for people voting? Just guess.
36.
70.
70?
Age
70?
70 for the primary.
The median? Primary, yeah.
Age 70
Not the mobile.
for the primary. Yeah. They didn't see much social media.
That's the median.
All right, poison. The other thing, I try to look for trends, and apparently Bing is making sort of a, I don't know why I'm holding that. Everybody uses Bing, everyone uses Google, right? It's your favorite search engine. Bing is kind of getting more and more popular. Does anyone have any idea why?
Because the Microsoft own pictures.
Pictures?
We go to.
Microsoft does own them, but that's hooked into something
Yeah,
else.
she's talking about the fact that when you go to a Bing search page,
Yeah,
you get some fabulous photography.
no. Do you know why? It's hooked into Amazon Echo.
Amazon what?
Echo. So when you say, I guess it's not Alexis. Is it Alexis? It's Amazon. So when you say Alexis, find Dalmatians in Raleigh, it's going out to Bing. So it's becoming even more. I always did my searches in Google, but if you really want to cover all bases, look at what's going on in, Bing is coming next. Is what I'm saying. I never liked it very much personally.
It has really nice pictures. They have a different picture every day, and some of them are spectacular.
My lectures are already like 15 minutes over, so.
I'll shut up.
This is not, I'm really running through all of this. This is not, when I looked at everything I needed to cover, I said, oh my God, what did I do? So, at the end, Jeff, right?
You have the idea for a book now, right?
Don't say that. All right, so again, this is in your handout, I think. I listed some data tools that I like. Of course, Google Analytics. I'm hearing more and more things about BuzzSumo. That's supposed to be fabulous. Reddit has gotten some very bad press because, it's sort of a dark corner. Some crappy stuff comes out, but they're getting better about it. They're cleaning up their act. I wish we could say the same for Craigslist. The really nice thing about Reddit is they have very narrow, very close communities, and you can tap into that. All right, social medias. The joke is social media is the most expensive free advertising you will ever have. And what I mean by that is of course we don't pay for Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and so forth. But if you want to keep that fresh and vibrant and whatever, you have to keep producing good quality content, and that costs money. And that's, well, you guys.
Time.
And time, right. So it's the most expensive free advertising. Know your markets, Facebook's mostly for older people, because we have something written on it, I guess. In an advertising agency, they might post daily on Facebook. Twitter and Instagram and Snapchat, it's much more frequent. It's 4 or 5 times a day.
And you can power on with the Russians.
You can power on with the Russians?
No,
Is
you
that what
can
you
power
said?
on with the Russians in the camp.
They're hiring?
Well, obviously they were earlier.
I guess I missed something there. I'm finding more and more interesting stuff on LinkedIn. Has anyone been following LinkedIn? It used to be just something where you posted your resume, and now I'm enjoying the feed more. And I like the idea that they keep a lot of politics out. But if you want to promote your writing, LinkedIn or some of the free sites, like I understand how the Indian Post doesn't pay at all. But LinkedIn is kind of nice because you can control it. If you want to send something out, do your own graphics, stuff like that. Be careful with your graphics, by the way. A friend of mine I think she got charged $10,000 for using something from Getty Images. So make sure you have permission, or use your own. Newsletters and email marketing are really good. I think they're getting more and more overlooked. It has one of the highest ROIs, return on your investment. 72% of people say that is where they would like to receive promotional information. I guess they don't want robocalls, but even over, they prefer it more even over social media. And it's easy to monitor. Metrics on newsletters are very, you know when they get opened, you know when people click on it, and the analytics are very good, okay? And it also directs you to the places, where you want people to go, the website. So if you want to start one, just watch how other people are doing it. They paid the money for the research and all that. See what they put in, apparently just subject lines or true art. All right, I did a whole section on branding. We're doing okay.
We got a few minutes.
Yeah, usually you go 20 minutes. It's gonna be a little bit longer. So with branding, that's where you actually announce your identity to the world, and you really have to figure out what it is. And I think the way it works best is what can you present. It's not a question of going out and saying, oh, what can I do for him? It's more like, what am I good at? What can I present? And then once you figure that out, maybe do a little bit of research and find out what the actual audience is that you're looking for. And the real thing that I really encourage when you're branding, and you know this because you've written titles, is always make a memorable name that's easy to say. Okay? People make these, we were talking about it earlier, Chartreuse News. That's an advertising agency. Why would I know that? Chartreuse News, right? All right, so when you have a good, strong branding policy in place, it builds really good customer loyalty. It increases the value, the books that you're trying to sell. You can ask for more money, and you build a bigger market share. Those are the advantages of good branding. So when you have branded, the first thing you probably want to do, after you make your name and establish your audience, is just kind of seal it in. Make a logo, make a slogan. Once upon a time, people wrote jingles, not so much anymore. Hashtags are huge for branding right now. So here are a few logos. I'm sure you're familiar with them. I think there's one you have to think about. Whoever can figure it out wins nothing. You see what I'm talking about here? Anybody know what this is? Nobody knows?
There's Target and Shell.
It's not really a logo.
Well, that one.
It's more of a silhouette. Nobody gets this? Is it hard to see? Okay. Nobody's heard of Marie Kondo? Oh, yeah. But you watch her, and that's all she wears is a skirt. The joy, does it bring me joy?
Decluttering.
There was an N&O title the other day that said, thrift shop full of joyless items. She's decluttered. Okay. But when she shows up, she's always wearing dark tights, a skirt. Another big trend coming up is storytelling. I keep coming back to this one. This is branding through storytelling. This is Rumi Spice. This is Michelle Young. She was a sergeant in the U.S. Army. Well, she's still is. But she was stationed in Afghanistan, and the main thing her platoon, I guess, had to do was burn down marijuana and opium crops and tell the Afghani farmers, okay, grow wheat. Well, wheat doesn't grow very well in Afghanistan, and there's hardly any market, and they weren't making any money. So as soon as the army would left, they would go back and grow opium, right? So she, in her travels, so to say, she found a guy who was growing saffron, which comes from crocuses, right here. And he couldn't sell it. Iran sort of had a corner on the market. So Michelle and two of her army buddies opened up Rumi Spice. And they they distribute they sell his saffron. They're up to helping 70 farmers at this point. And they hire 300 women during the harvest. And that's the most the single place that, I don't know what it is. That's the most women working for one company anywhere in Afghanistan. So that's his whole story. You know, I could come in and say, hey, buy this saffron, it's really good. But when you hear the story, you feel much more emotionally connected to it. And this is our forte, right, people? Like if you have a story about your book. Oh, I was wandering in the Sierra, whatever. Something that'll make you. So if I had more time, but Jeff took up all my time. These were a couple of ad campaigns I thought were interesting. The wind never felt better. Have you guys seen that ad? The Budweiser ad with the dog in the wind. And there's wind energy, wind power, and of course the Gillette ad. You know, the best a man can be. You guys know these, right? Both of these have a little bit of a cause marketing, and you know, there's an underlying sort of. Oh, well, that would help. Well, no, you can have a computer and YouTube. They're both, and if I'd been able to do it, I'd have a TV. Well, there's always the library. All right, I'm almost wrapping up, so bear with me. I've been started picking up on the trends that are important to me. Let me put that. Influencers are very big. I'll get to that in just a minute. As I mentioned, LinkedIn. Who's our ex-TAF or TAF member? Linda Formicelli?
Formicelli.
Formicelli. I've been watching her stuff on LinkedIn. I think what she's doing is awesome. Very high quality, very interesting, very informative. I don't think the Me Too movement's going away. If anybody wants to write on that, I just noticed that cat person, have you guys heard about this in the New Yorker? It went completely viral. It has sort of a Me Too element theme to it. By the way, I don't know if anyone's heard this, but in 2020, they believe that Wake County will have more people of color and immigrants than white people, for lack of a better word. The white people will be outnumbered. I think there's going to be much more diverse voices, particularly in Wake County, if we can get those interviews going. I think video is going to continue to get bigger and bigger and bigger, and live video. I have a couple of hysterically funny live videos. You know, that's where absolutely no edit. What's like this? There's no editing that's done at all. Oh, great, we're in a trend, right? So I always had some fear about, you know, I mean, I worked with film, but I didn't have any editors. Last night I found something like 8 free film video, you know, video editors you can do on your phone. It's on the sheet that I gave you. So, you know, and when you're working with video, I mean, you guys know drama and conflict and stuff like that. I mean, make really good scripts for people. You know, that's another area. All right, so influencers, what's happened with the, you know, back in Sears and Roebuck, I mean, you had everything, right? Now with the internet, you have very narrow markets. They call them verticals, okay? They used to sell shoes to males. Now they have shoes for men and shoes for boys, and boys that are 13 and boys that are 17. Very, very specific, narrow markets. And the influencers are finding niches in those markets. And up until this point, they were working a lot with the mega influencers, like a Kardashian who had more than 12,000 followers. But the real trend right now are the micro influencers, which have more than 10,000. Which would, of course, you and me, right? There just seems to be more return on micro. You know, becoming an influencer, like if you wanted to be an influencer in Raleigh, not a big deal. Like go around and you do some funny stuff in a restaurant, and I went here, and you know, I went to this Chinese restaurant. I don't know, in New York, they would have desserts with eggs in them. You know, some sort of funny story. You know, it's not a big deal to be an influencer. And then you can market yourself and get so much for each post. And it's 4 times more likely that the audience of a micro influencer will respond over a mega influencer. So micro influencers are really big. I'm way behind schedule here, so just take my word for it. The Ryan toy reviews. I think the kid is. Have you guys seen this? He's like 9 years old, and his parents do kind of a polished. He made what, $11 million this year? Yeah, he's the #1 influencer. I mean, hello, you know? You could do, if you have it like, I don't know, bird watching, you could do little videos on YouTube, get a YouTube channel going. You know, there's, I think it's an I mean, right now, you know, it's mostly beauty and fashion and, you know, dress this way and look this way. And that's big, but I think there's niches for the stuff we want to talk about, you know, the rest of us, the unbeautiful people, traveling. All right, so this is my last section. Again, stay with your storytelling, that's a big asset. I think we know more syntax and grammar than 90% of the people writing, so that's a big strength. All of you know how to build an article, how to, you know, get that art going. Copy editors, this might be a way to get, you know, to get your foot in the door. I think we're very good at conversational writing. I think people who don't write are very stiff and formal. Our writing can be more relaxed and more relatable. You guys with me on all this? Never forget your lead. Remember, put your lead right at the beginning. If you don't, you're just going to get this article and go, what's this about? Okay, and then you get aggravated. All right. If you want to look into this, I'm not sure if I put this on the thingy. ECU. Very often you're competing with kids, young people coming out of college. They've got a dream, you know, they've done a whole semester on social media. You know, so they're coming out with a communications degree, which, you know, didn't even exist 5 years ago, right? So ECU's got a very good course online that kind of focuses just on digital media. I got the Premier LinkedIn. It gives me all my analytics. It looks at my my profile. If I do an article, it tells me exactly when somebody reads it. Analytics are really easy, okay? They also have a really good learning section, so when you finish an online course with them, it pops it over to your profile if you're looking for a job. Love it. Moz has been really good for analytics. It's a little more technical, HTML, WordPress, you know, technical but helpful. There's a bunch of meetups all over Raleigh. Raleigh is very rich in this, and you can have tons of fun. There's one that just opened up at The Design. I didn't put it down, but they just do it only meets for an hour in the afternoon. It goes into digital. I'm a member of the American Marketing Association. It is a bit pricey to become a member, but they have about 6 or 7 events a month, which are either free or might cost you $5. It's just a professional element. I really recommend them. The Raleigh SEO meetup is a little more technical, but it's really good. I mean, the speakers they get. And the Triangle Marketing Club meets about once a month, and they get national speakers in as well. Free, by the way, both of those are free. Conference next week is High Five Conference, very expensive. But once I became a member, I was volunteering, and now I can go at a reduced rate. And of course, there's Write Up, which is in April, right? You already pitched it.
Yep.
We'll
talk about that more.
Yeah, the SEO Raleigh meetup is in May 2nd, and the Internet Summit Digital Marketing Conference, I've never been to, it's in November, but it's huge. It's a big national conference, and it's very, very, it's a little more technical than what I've been talking about. So the second page of what I handed you, I am the manager for the blog. I'm the blog manager for the AMA Triangle, and I really need content. No, we don't pay.
That's why you need content.
One thing I would like someone to write is something on the General Data Protection Regulation, which came out in Britain last May. Do you guys know anything about this? Yeah. I wish they had it here, but it protects like Facebook coming in, and they probably have 1,000 pages on you, just they know everything about you. So there's a certain protections in place in Britain. No, I'm sorry, it was Nancy. You have to put not disclaimers, but announcements on your site that say, you know, I'm gonna put cookies on your computer. All right. And that's it. That's my great big thing for you. Anybody call in? Hannah, did anybody call in?
No, but there are people that, in the
Maybe
chat that came in.
Okay, did they, does anyone have any questions? I'm sorry. Guess I should do that now. I knew it was gonna run long. I didn't mean to be, oh my God, it really ran long. Did you want anything to ask anymore, Jeff?
No.
Everybody's question, yeah. I scared you too bad.
If you've ever used, I found marketing with email is good,
Yeah.
and you have to use